Hello everyone, welcome to the Captain's video blog. We are Sunday, September the 4th, 2016. How do I know it's the 4th when it's noon on Monday morning? Because I know that my birthday is next Sunday, so it's 11th minus 7 is 4. Yeah, I don't have a lot to talk about today because I haven't done a lot. The main thing that I've done was sleeping. Yeah, and at not appropriate moments nor appropriate places. I mean, my bed is an appropriate place to sleep. It's where I slept during the day, and I slept during the night while I was transferring files from my phone to my external hard drive, and yeah, that's pretty much the reason why I'm awake right now. What can I say? It's been a fairly boring day. Oh, wait. I haven't written the description of yesterday's video blog. Oh shit. Well then. I mean, I remember more or less what I've talked about. It's just that, you know, anyway. So yeah, there was no football. There was no wrestling. It was a fairly boring day. I think the only relevant piece of news that I've got when coming to sports was that there was a really short stage today on La Vuelta. You know, I said that La Vuelta isn't as exciting as, for example, the Tour de France, because it's not, you know, most of the riders from the Tour de France are burnt out from a 3-week race, which is, you know, understandable, and therefore you don't have the same kind of race than in the Tour de France. But yesterday's stage was very short, like 120 kilometers probably at most. Therefore you had to go fast, you know, to attack early, and that's what Nairo Quintana and Alberto Contador did. And boy, did Chris Froome get how can I say that? Well, he didn't see that coming. But that isn't really the most interesting thing about this stage. So on a very short stage, people rarely consider how short, when it comes to bike racing, 120 kilometer is, because you know, you have 40-kilometer time trials, and most often you will have, you know, 130 will be a short stage, and yeah, the median, you know, the median length of a stage in bicycle racing is usually around 150 kilometers. I remember that the longest stage in the Tour de France this year was around 230 kilometers. It was a very boring stage because the peloton wasn't riding at all. Well, they weren't racing. They were riding. They weren't really racing until, you know, maybe the last 70 kilometers. Doesn't really make for a great race. But yeah, on a very short stage, 90 riders had gone out of delay. You know, they were so much behind that they were actually 25 minutes behind the time for, you know, disqualification. But since there were so many of them, well, they got saved. Apparently there's been a huge crash. That is what might have explained that. But considering that the stage was won in about maybe 2 hours and 50 minutes, or maybe 2 hours and 25 minutes, 50 minutes of delay is around maybe 30 kilometers, something like that. Yeah, maybe even more. That's just how far behind a lot of the race was. But yeah, now there's that's the rule. I think that in the Tour de France it has happened once to not disqualify most of the race. I remember, if I'm not mistaken, it's 2007 when Oscar Pereiro CEO won in Montelimar, I think, with half an hour. He was half an hour in front of the peloton, and therefore, he was like, there were two riders with him, maybe two other riders 7 minutes something like that behind him, and the rest of the peloton was far behind. And that kind of thing happened very early because I was on that stage at an early point, I think. And I saw, Oscar Pereiro CEO, and who was he with? I think it was Sylvain Chavanel, among others, because there were a group of like 6 people, and then they got separated, and but the peloton was already a good 10 minutes behind, and usually in the kind of stages, 10 minutes is something kind of a buffer for the peloton, because they know that once they decide to accelerate, there's this rule where the peloton will usually take back 1 minute every 10 kilometers, which is that's usually the case. You will see the peloton back in the day, and I really mean that as in back in the day, like at the time of Armstrong. You would see some stages where the group in front would take 13 minutes, but then you see how many kilometers remain. It's like 100 and over 100 kilometers, and you're like, well, the peloton is always going to be accelerating hard at first, gulping 2 minutes just like that, and then it's like 1 minute every 10 kilometers, and that's always something that you can see. Really, you can calculate the distance and the time lost, and that's usually a rule that's confirmed. But it's sad because nowadays the peloton rarely leaves more than 7 minutes to the guys in front, so I'm like, but it's not funny. It's all because now the sprinters have their trains and all that, and I'm like, I mean, a guy like Thomas Voeckler shouldn't be working all through the Tour de France for his sprinter. I mean, I kind of want to see a French stage win on the Tour de France, but it's just that just feels like it's less of a individual effort and more of a team effort, and that shouldn't be the thing in all the stages. I understand in mountain stages, I understand in team time trial, but in stages that end in a peloton sprint, I'm like, what does it even bring to the race? But yeah, but I remember when in the early Tour de France, in the early years, maybe even through to the mid 60s, I would say, you would often encounter stages that were 300 kilometers long. Like the first Tour de France had a low amount of stages, but god damn it, they were very long stages. Like, holy shit! And you're supposed to do that in one day. Actually, they weren't really supposed to do that. In the amount of time that nowadays you would have a stage, they would usually leave in the early or mid morning and arrive pretty late at night. Like, I think that the first stage, there are photographs of the first stage, of the arrival of the first stage, and it's like 10 p.m. and you're like, he's going to race again for that many kilometers tomorrow. You are crazy. And It's all part of the legend of the Tour de France. Like, I don't remember who exactly, but one of the riders when they first escalated the obelisk, I think, or the Tourmalet, said to the organizer, the Tour de France, that they were murderers, and that was that's always these kinds of little things, little words, even insults. The things like cheating when a guy took the train to arrive to the finish line, or that one time where a rider was disqualified because he didn't want to be disqualified, so when he broke parts of his bike, he went to how's it called, the shop where there's a guy hammers on hot steel, and he said, no, I'm doing that myself. I know that I don't have the qualification and all of that, but I have to do that myself because I will be disqualified if I let you do it, because it was hard times. You would have to wear your replacement wheels. Well, not really wheels, but yeah, you catch my drift. And that's all the things that make me so interested in a race that's become so neutered these past few years. But yeah, I still have the hope that one day you will have the leader get completely blown the fuck out, and it won't be because of a bike that stopped in the middle of the road. So yeah. Anyway, I've watched like the multinational bowl. There was France against Latvia. We won thanks to Manu, who is Manuel Valls. A picture of Manuel Valls with Tomoko. Weird. Sounds like a doujin that I don't want to read. So yeah, and then I went to FR on int, and God, it's still shit. So anyway, thanks for watching. See you tomorrow, which is actually later today, before Raw, because I'm probably not gonna watch Raw. I'm gonna maybe have a little nap and then work on my presentation for Wednesday. Goodbye.